Hi and welcome to another episode of Cadence Fishing TV. We're here today at the Rising Sun Fishery near York, and we're here to show you the benefits of using the Cadence Wand for silverfish just like this. Right, a lot of people have asked me why I use the Cadence Wand in my winter fishing for silvers, and the answer is quite simple really. The tips on the wand, and it comes with 3 tips, are far more sensitive and have more finesse than the standard Cadence number 2 rod, which in its own right is very, very sensitive, and we use that for skimmers all the time. But as you can see from the pictures there, that the fiberglass tips that come with the wand are much finer and more sensitive, and will register bites that you won't even see on any standard rod. So that's the tips covered and the rod. Next we'll move on to the rigs we're using. The rig we're using today is called a helicopter rig. A lot of you might not be familiar with this setup, and it's something that we use quite a lot for the roach. Let me explain my reasons behind using it and how it works. As you can see, we've got the main line, which is 016, travelling down there, and on that main line I've got a bead and a swivel. Now that bead and the swivel is trapped between 2 ledger stops, or in this case the method feeder stops, makes it quite rigid. And what happens then is we fish that on a short, quite a stiff hook link. I'm using 018 today, only a size 20 hook, but it's on an 018, and we fish that so it keeps it away from the line, the Paternoster that takes it down to your feeder. The length of that Paternoster can be adjusted by just simply moving those stops like that. And you'll probably notice that there's a slight little gap between that bead, and that's to make the rig effective and allows it to do what it says in its name, and it will spin round. That avoids your tangles, and it also makes it a lot easier for the fish to pick up. Now when that rig lands on the bed of the lake, it will sit like that. The line drops down, your main line. We've got your bait on there, obviously. What happens is the fish will come along, roach, skimmers, or whatever you like. It gets its food parcel there, maggots, casters, same thing again. It feeds on them, and they're just milling about round there. It comes across your hook bait there. It'll pick that up, and that's where that little beaded swivel comes round. It can quite comfortably pick that up without feeling a thing. And of course, as the fish comes down, head down, picks it up, it sits up again like that. As it sits up when it's taken the bait, it gets the weight of the feeder, and it's pretty much a self-hooking rig. Once it feels that, it shakes its head, lifts up, you get a bite, and 9 times out of 10, you hit those bites. And the carp anglers will tell you that's how they fish for the carp really, not necessarily the helicopter rig, but they use like the self-hooking rigs, and this is the same sort of rig but just for small roach and silvers. Works very effectively. And that is one of my favourite rigs for fishing for roach in the winter. Right, we've talked about the helicopter rig, and now let's run on to a more familiar rig. It's the Paternoster rig, and I've got this set up on a maggot feeder along with a hook length of probably, I don't know, 2.5 feet. And the reason I've been using this today is because on occasion the fish have been appearing to take on the drop. I've had a couple of knocks on that helicopter rig as it's fallen through the water, so I tried this rig and it's caught me a couple of fish. The setup is my 016 main line to the reel, as we said, on a Paternoster looped off there, but the key to it is the fluorocarbon link I've got here. 2.5 foot of 016 or 018, it doesn't really matter, fluorocarbon. And my thoughts behind that is that with it being a thicker line, it will sink much slower through the water column, giving the fish the opportunity to spot your maggot or your caster hook bait and suck that in while it's falling to the floor. And you can get some vicious bites off this, or they appear vicious anyway when you're fishing your wand, due to the sensitive nature of the tips on that. And it has caught me quite a few fish today, as that one. Well, everybody has a favourite mix for silverfish, but my particular favourite, especially when I'm fishing with a wand, is what you can see here. And it's mixed 70-30, and it's match blend and the super black brems. And it's 70% black and 30% of the match blend. Because the pond, or the lake should I say, is quite clear, I tend to mix the mix dark like most of us do in the winter, and I find that catches me an awful lot of fish in pretty much every lake and venue I go to. Right, we've talked about the rod, the rigs and the bait. Now let's move on to the reel. I've paired my rod up today, the wand up today, with a Cadence CS10 3000. Nice light reel. I tend to use it a lot for the float fishing, but today it's on the wand. It's absolutely perfect for it. I've loaded my feeder up. You can see my helicopter rig's all set to go. We've got the line on a clip, which a lot of people might find that unusual for this sort of fishing, but it does give you the opportunity to fish very accurate, which to me, I think that's very important in winter. Get your bait down the same hole every time. We'll have a throw out and see if we can't catch a fish. A nice gentle lob, because we're only going 20 yards to the clip. Perfect. And now we just sit and wait for that bite. It shouldn't take too long. Right, we've cast in, so I'm now going to show you how I set the tip. With it being such a sensitive tip, it's slightly different to what we do with a normal feeder rod. Let's have a look. I've tightened up to the feeder, and what I do is just make sure the line is tight, and this is one of the reasons I use this type of flat rest. So you can see now I've got quite a good amount of bend in the tip. That's only because it's under that feeder, and it's a very sensitive tip, as we've talked before. So what I do now is slowly slide it across that, and you can see now that tip is slackening off. So we now direct to the tip and the bait, obviously, but with no bend in the tip at all. that's an advantage today. We've not got a lot of tow on, and I'm using the longer of the tips that comes with the wand. Now if you fish a venue and it does have a bit of tow, that's when the other two tips come in handy. The tips are unlike on a normal rod where you get 1 ounce, 1.5, 2 ounce test curve, all that kind of business. These tips are fiberglass. They've got the same taper, but the stronger, if you like, the stronger tips are shorter. So therefore, they haven't got that really, really fine section at the end. So if you come across tow on the lake that you're fishing, and you just change that tip for a shorter one, you will get the bend on it, but as we say, the wand's tips are so sensitive, even the bend in it is not going to affect the fish feeling that resistance from your tip when they suck that bait in. There you go, that's a bite. Perfect example of a silverfish caught on a helicopter rig. A rod well worth having in your armoury, the Cadence Wand.